So up next in conversation today with the wonderful Sagarika Ghosh, consulting editor of the Times of India, is our next achiever who has literally made history. And this is going to be a great fun chat. She made history when she became the first Indian woman to lead an all-women crew in an epic voyage around the world. You are now sailing into history with Lieutenant Commander Vartika Joshi. A big round of applause for them.
Okay, it's going to be another big hand for Lieutenant Commander Joshi. What an honor to be here with you. From Uttarakhand to the ocean, how did it happen? How did you join the Navy from the hills to the sea?
So honestly speaking, as a kid, I was very scared of water. But that sort of got me intrigued about the oceans, and I got so curious that triggered my interest for the oceans, and I decided to join the forces.
As we know, Lieutenant Commander is from Uttarakhand, the hill state, and she is now taken to the water. Before you started this journey to circumnavigate the globe, were you scared, were you worried, were you apprehensive, or were you confident?
I initially was a little apprehensive because something of that sort had not been undertaken by anybody in the country. So it was happening for the first time. So initially, definitely, I was a little apprehensive. But then the 2.5 years of solid training that we undertook sort of backed it up, and I think we had to get going with it.
And how did you all get along? Because I heard somebody say in an interview to you that, well, a group of women are bound to be fighting and squabbling with each other. Did you take pleasure in rebutting that stereotype?
Exactly. So that's one stereotype that I think that we have broken. People think that, as females, you can't stay along for long with each other. But it's been 254 days, even more than that, I think about 3 years that we have stayed together, lived together, and worked together with each other, and in the most challenging situations that one can imagine. So I think that's the stereotype which we have definitely broken.
Exactly, and what you did do as women is celebrate each other's birthdays, and I believe you baked cakes on board as well.
Absolutely. So there was no dearth of things to, pep us up in trying times. You are transiting through areas which are known to have no laws and no gods. So it's during those times that you have to pull up each other, and that's how we do it.
And what was the scariest moment? Did you have lots of scary moments, and what were they?
Yes, there were lots of them, and particularly one or two that I can count now is the storm that we faced in the South Pacific, the winds that we saw.
The storm in the South Pacific?
Yes.
And how long had you been traveling when you faced the storm?
So the storm that we faced, it lasted for 19 to 20 hours.
Right.
And the temperatures, already they were sub-zero temperatures, and the winds were gusting up to 70 knots, which is equivalent to about 140 kilometers per hour.
Wow.
It's also the, wind speeds in a tropical, average wind speeds of a tropical cyclone that hits the Indian coast every year. So the conditions are very brutal over there, and there are almost about 3 storms which are hitting per week in the oceans out there. So yes, so that was one incident which was quite challenging, and the other one was during our last run, the home run towards India, when we lost our steering system. So it was as if you are driving your car at full speed, and then you lose your steering halfway. So we did a lot of repairs, and we sort of managed to do a temporary take.
And you were the leader of the crew, right? You were the commander. What was the pressure on you to actually keep calm and to manage the other members of your crew? What were the pressures, psychological and physical, on you?
So in expeditions like these, you go through a hell lot of emotions. And a lot of emotional, physical, and mental ups and downs, they keep happening because you're staying and you're living away from your homeland for days and days altogether. So you need to have a lot of patience. But those ups and downs should not deter you or should not come in between the mission that you are working on. So despite of all the ups and downs, I had to make sure that I had them all in balance, and I do not get agitated or in situations like that.
Right.
I had to work with a lot of probably calm and composure while taking decisions at sea.
And you must have had a rigorous training process before this, right?
Yes, so the training started since 2015 onwards and took us 2.5 years of training. September 2017, we set off from our home port in Goa.
Right. And how were you chosen? Did you volunteer for this or were you chosen on the basis of
Absolutely.
merit?
So we all had volunteered for it. In fact, the choice was open to us that we can back off anytime we feel that we are not up to it. But then out of about 25 to 30 volunteers, 6 of us were the final ones that kept on with it. A lot of them backed off in the
other
in
people
the
backed
process.
off.
Yes.
They just didn't think that they could do it.
Yes, because it probably is not everybody's cup of tea, and we as Indians are still are yet to go into areas, explore the oceans.
Yes.
And
But do you love a challenge? Does a challenge really excite you?
absolutely, and that's the reason why I volunteered for it.
Are you a brave person? Would you consider yourself a very brave person?
Considering the fact that I've come back alive and without an injury.
And what does bravery mean for you?
I think bravery for me is to keep going and keep going even when you feel that you can't do it. Is to keep on with your passion, your goal.
Right.
And that holds the priority for you always and every time. For me, during the entire 8.5 months that I was there, my goal, my mission was on the topmost priority. Even at back home, there would be certain issues which are going on, but still, you know that you're working on a mission and you have the responsibility not just for yourself, but 5 other lives who are sailing with you. So it is those times that you have to pull yourself up, and it's nobody else is going to come and help you out there in the ocean. So you are there all by yourself.
So it's actually bravery for you is going on in spite of the odds. Just keep on at it. And what's your zodiac sign, by the way?
I'm 30th October, so
30th
I'm
October.
not sure.
Scorpio. Me, I'm a Scorpio too. Really? I'm a Scorpio too. Oh gosh, but I can't imagine going around the globe in a boat. But tell me, we were talking last night, and you said that sometimes it's the day-to-day things that were really quite challenging. Like you said, just keeping clean and keeping everything
Absolutely.
clean was a challenge.
Yes, the things that we find really easy at home become so difficult out there at sea, and you are sailing on a rocking platform all the time. Your frame of reference has shifted from that which is there on land. So even little things like cooking, keeping the boat clean, and especially you are living in confined spaces for days and days altogether. Right. So keeping the boat clean and even going to the loo becomes a big deal for you out there.
And how were you able to communicate with your parents and your family?
Yes, because this was a very public project, and the idea was to reach as many masses as we could. So every day I would send the boat's position reports to the naval authorities, and they would further disseminate it to our friends and relatives. And once in a while, definitely, we were able to connect it with them.
And there must have been some quite mystical moments. When I was talking to you, I kept thinking of somebody else who's written on traveling the oceans, which is, of course, Jan Martel and the Life of Pi. Where he, of course, is in a lifeboat with a tiger. But yours
and
is
we
very
were all
different.
tigresses.
You were the 6 tigresses on board. But did you have almost sort of interesting, almost kind of mystical experiences out there in the ocean? It's nighttime. You must have seen a galaxy of stars.
Absolutely. So there are times when the sea is absolutely calm. It's crystal clear and you can see your reflection in the ocean. There are calm days like that, and there are beautiful nights when you see so many constellations there.
Wow.
We were also so fortunate to witness these southern lights, the auroras.
These southern lights.
Yes, south of Tasmania. So yes, those were probably the most memorable days that we've cherished. And there's also this phenomena at sea, the bioluminescence. The bioluminescence, where the water, it just glitters with the wake of the boat when it makes waves. So I think probably these are the most memorable days that
Yes.
we are going to cherish. But there were other times in contrast when it was all gloomy and the days would be, for days and days, the sky would be covered with clouds. And you know
that make you
there's a
depressed?
storm. Not really, because you know, when you're staying so close to the nature, you get to see the various moods of the nature. And then there are times when you have to respond to those moods of the nature.
Yeah.
So how important it is for a person to balance his moods, because at the end of the day you have to
How
respond.
interesting.
You have to respond and take action well in time to deal with those various shades that various challenges that the nature throws upon you.
Right.
So it's a huge learning for a lifetime, I would say.
Right. So, and were you regularly updating with your pictures and your reports, and so you were constantly in communication? There was never a time when you were off the radar completely.
No, not at all, because I was supposed to be, as a military vessel, we were supposed to be disseminating the boat's position to the Navy, who was constantly tracking us. So we were not out of communication.
Right. You know, does the tag of being a woman naval officer bother you? We were just talking about this. Because of course it's an all-woman crew and you've circumnavigated the globe. But sometimes would you like to say that I am a naval officer? I'm a lieutenant commander. I commanded a military vessel. I'm not a woman naval officer.
You know, in the Navy, everybody addresses me as an officer. Because I joined the officer cadre of the Navy and everybody addresses me as an officer. It's only when I have to explain myself to somebody who's not to the civil population. It's then when I feel that I have to explain it to them that way. But otherwise in the military they don't really, there is no such differentiation between males and females. In fact, the male counterparts, they're all buddies to me or they're my seniors. So they treat me that way.
So there's no bias against women in the Navy?
Not really, not at all.
Right.
I've never felt so.
Right. Lieutenant Commander Joshi, it's been an absolute honor and a delight to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Same here.